What's going on, coach? That's our new quarterback, J.J. McCarthy. He's meditated before every game since high school to deal with depression. He does it right under the goalpost for everyone to see instead of a quiet place that would make more sense because he's so brave and definitely not doing it for attention. That is so brave. Why was he so depressed? Poor guy was a 5-star recruit who went to IMG Academy and had a full ride from Michigan. Wow, that's rough. And to make matters worse, at Michigan he only had to pass the ball 10 times a game to a super loaded team that also knew the opposing team's every play. By God, that's depressing. I guess you just don't know what some people have to go through.
This video contains strong adult language. May not be suitable for children or sensitive people. Boom boom.
It's in inside. Here we go. Goff from the touchdown. Two minutes remaining. Goff throws. Wow. Panay Sewell, the right tackle, makes the catch and pick. Mullins over 400 yards today. From the 30 on first down. Mullins steps up. He throws. It is picked off. Melifonwu with the exclamation point for the Detroit Lions today. Third down and 5 for Mullins and the Vikings. Lofted right to the free safety and picked by Gardner Johnson. In his first game since week 2, he's got the pick. From 44 for the lead. Bates has delivered. Detroit is on top with 15 seconds left.
Minnesota Vikings. People remember the Minneapolis Miracle, but what about the week after when the Vikings got absolutely dog-walked by the Eagles 38-7? But one even more embarrassing loss was the 2000 NFC Championship game where they were out of it from the opening snap and lost 41-0. That was one of the most fraudulent teams ever. And not many people remember the 4 Super Bowl losses, so if you were alive when that happened, have some oatmeal. Minnesota Vikings 1984. With a 3-13 record, the Vikings 1984 season was miserable on and off the field. Head coach Les Steckel implemented a militaristic approach that alienated players, resulting in angry losses. But hey, at least the players got yelled at. Fans were fed up and Steckel was fired after just 1 season. Minnesota Vikings. The least discussed 14-win season in the history of the NFL. You wanted respect, you could have beaten the Lions and listened to the hate from your bye week. Instead, you have to go on the road in the playoffs and earn your stripes. You better not waste Justin Jefferson's talent. None of us will forgive you for that. Regardless of what happens in the postseason, you have a ton of questions going forward. Like, how do you let Sam Darnold walk for the unproven J.J. McCarthy? I thought you were legit, but nobody was talking about you for a reason. The Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome. We opened the video with the Metrodome, but the curse of this building goes beyond its roof issues. The curse has more to do with the on-field product. Yes, the roof was doomed from the start. Whose idea was it to put a fabric tension roof that was held up by air pressure in a cold weather city? Prior to the collapse, incidents included roof tears, holes, and partial collapses. It was cursed from the start. Then we have to talk about the Vikings. They played in the Dome from 1982 to 2010, and though they won the first playoff game they ever played there, they lost at least 1 playoff contest in the Dome for each subsequent decade, the most heartbreaking being the 1999 NFC Championship game. Yes, the building did see 2 World Series championships, but those are the most tainted World Series wins of all time, being that the home field advantage for the Metrodome's white ceiling was distinct, especially before interleague play. The building was bulldozed in 2013 after a 30-year period which didn't see the Vikings make a single Super Bowl. They rebuilt their new, stronger stadium on the same spot, and that hosted a Super Bowl, which is also cursed because the fucking Eagles won it there. Metropolitan Stadium, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Another bizarre dual-use configuration, Metropolitan Stadium in Minneapolis was extremely disjointed and had a confusing layout. According to Wikipedia, when bleachers were erected to expand the stadium for the Twins, no concourse was built to connect them to the rest of the stadium. Due to this design flaw, fans in the bleachers literally had to go outside to access the main grandstand area. The football field also barely fit inside the stadium as the end zones were dangerously close to permanent fixtures. Known as the Met, it was the home of the Vikings from 1961 to 1981, and it's insane to think they played football outdoors in Minnesota during the winter, but remember the Astrodome and artificial turf didn't come along until the late 60s, so a frozen weird-ass stadium was the best that they could do. Ironically, the team did better in the postseason back then due to the home field advantage of the bitter cold. Once the Metrodome came along in 1982, this place sat abandoned for 10 years until it was mercifully demolished and turned into the Mall of America. The Minnesota Vikings. Some of y'all are going to object to this being in the indisputable category, but the Minneapolis Miracle is iconic. The fact that Case Keenum threw it will tell you how astronomical the odds were. Trailing 24-23 with 10 seconds left and no timeouts. Most people figured the Vikings would either look to the sidelines to get in field goal range or, throw it in the middle, but that seemed like too risky an option. Either way, the team in purple was fucked. The Saints thought that too, but their horrible misplay ended up as a TD, and Diggs' celebration was truly iconic. Minnesota Vikings. You blew 4 Super Bowls in 5 years, yet that happened so long ago, people hardly remember it. What's with that skull chant anyways? SKOL? I don't get it. It's dumb. I don't understand it. It must be dumb. I got a real zinger saying Minnesota, Minnesota. US Bank Stadium, Minneapolis, Minnesota. US Bank replaced the Metrodome, but before the Metrodome started construction in 1979, they needed to clear out some older buildings. Those were the Metro Medical Center, a gas station, and a juvenile detention center. Now you know that US Bank is on the site of a former juvie.
Minnesota. I've always said this. Minnesota, statistically, in terms of winning percentage, you guys are the best team in NFL history that still does not have a Super Bowl championship on your resume. But the thing that I always found hilarious about the Vikings is you guys have had so many playoff failures, and you guys have fallen on your face so many times in the postseason that everybody associates you with losing in the conference championship game, which is something that you guys have done with a lot of frequency. But it makes people forget that in the 60s and 70s, your franchise was the original Buffalo Bills. You went 0-4 in the Super Bowl, and the last time you even made the Super Bowl was 1976. But only people who are in nursing homes remember that shit. And also me, because I'm an NFL historian and expert. But again, we talk about the Gary Anderson field goal in 98, losing 41-0 to the Giants in 2000, which honestly doesn't get talked about as much as it should. Then, of course, you got the Brett Favre interception versus New Orleans, and then you got getting blown out by the Eagles in the NFC Championship game in 2017, and then you have the Blair Walsh kick. 2003, your team started 6-0, missed the playoffs. But really the thing, because the Vikings and your Vikings fans I know out there, you guys really focus and obsess over individual players at skill positions like Randy Moss and now Justin Jefferson. And even this year, because you guys had a fluke season this year, a Fugazi season this year, Vikings fans love to say that Randy Moss is the best receiver of all time. He's not the best receiver of all time. He can't even hold Jerry Rice's jockstrap. Randy Moss was done being a good receiver at the age of 32. Jerry Rice was producing 1,000-yard seasons into his 40s, okay? It's not even a contest, but that's in the past. How about now? Now, you have one of the best receivers in the league in Justin Jefferson, and you guys obsess over Justin Jefferson. But guess what? Justin Jefferson is not even the best receiver in the league. He's not even the best receiver to come out of LSU into the league in the last 5 years. That belongs to Jamar Chase, who just won the Triple Crown this year in terms of receiving. And also, from a historical perspective, Justin Jefferson has played 77 career games thus far, and he's not even top 28 in terms of touchdown catches through 77 career games. He's a little bit shy and scared of the end zone. Great player, but stop saying he's the best receiver in the league when he's not. I cannot wait to watch you fall on your face into a pile of shit once again in the postseason this year, and then get rid of Sam Darnold and rely on J.J. McCarthy, who's going to be a massive draft bust. Minnesota Vikings, the biggest need is the offensive line. They have about $60 million in cap space and a first-round pick, so they're probably going to use it on their offensive line. Let's see, Garrett Bradbury, I'm looking through the cap situation now. Their center, Garrett Bradbury, final year of his contract. Just their whole Christian Darrisaw is obviously good, but their whole offensive line there, just a bunch of musical chairs and substitutions, and especially if you're going to bring in J.J. McCarthy, who looks like he weighs 150 pounds, and you want him to be durable because you invested a first-round pick in him, you got to get this short up offensively. Minnesota Vikings, 1967. Crown jewel of this draft class is obviously Alan Page, a Hall of Famer and former MVP. He made 9 Pro Bowls and a 5 first-team All-Pro guy, but he was not alone in this draft. Vikings also drafted Gene Washington, who made 2 Pro Bowls, Bob Grimm, another receiver who made a Pro Bowl, and Bobby Bryant, a defensive back who made 2 Pro Bowls in the 7th round, 167 overall. Again, when you talk about the purple people eaters, Alan Page is considered by many to be the best of that bunch, and this is where they got him. And they never were able to win a Super Bowl, but they were one of the best teams in the league in the late 60s and the 70s because of guys like Alan Page. Minnesota Vikings, John Carlson, 2012. Do you even know who John Carlson is? Did you know that he even played for the Vikings? And did you know that the Vikings actually gave him a 5-year, $25 million contract with $11 million guaranteed heading into 2012? You probably didn't, but now you do, and you should know because it was basically robbery. Carlson, in return for his amazing contract, gave the Vikings 2 years for 40 catches and 1 touchdown. But hey, at least he got a front row seat in 2012 to watching Adrian Peterson run for over 2,000 yards. I guess that's worth the contract. I don't know. Minnesota Vikings, Kevin O'Connell. Look, I might not be as high on Kevin O'Connell as some people are because to me, he looks like the husband in a sitcom that's being cheated on by his wife. But there's no denying that he got the best season out of any Kirk Cousins team ever in 2022. And then he got by far the best season out of any Sam Darnold team ever last year, going 14-3. And he has a 67% winning percentage through 3 years as the Vikings coach. So his ability to improve quarterbacks or to win with different quarterbacks should not be questioned, but he still is yet to win a playoff game, going 0-2 in the playoffs for his career. And does that matter? Yes, it does. But if you're the Vikings, it's kind of like, well, now we get to see what J.J. McCarthy is like, the first round pick, and see if maybe if he and O'Connell can become a successful tandem. So in my opinion, there's really no scenario outside of, again, some really, really bad collapse, or if McCarthy has a historically awful rookie season, or second season technically, then O'Connell's job is fine. I think his hot seat ranking is a pretty decent 2 out of 5. Minnesota Vikings, Ivan Pace. Ivan Pace was undrafted in 2023, but he's turned out to be a hell of a find thus far for the Vikings. As a rookie, he had over 100 tackles and 2.5 sacks, and he was on pace to put up even better numbers last year, but he missed 6 games. Now, with Pace, he can be a little bit susceptible in pass coverage. Last year, he gave up a passer rating of 101.1 in coverage after having a passer rating allowed of 75.9 as a rookie. So maybe the injury last season played a role in him potentially taking a step back, but I believe he's flying under the radar, and I believe that the Vikings have a good player in this guy, and if he can stay healthy, he's going to be a consistent 100-plus tackle, probably multiple interception, multiple sack guy, and those are valuable. He's undersized, he's only 5'10" for a linebacker, but the guy can play, and I think a lot more people are going to know that after this season. Minnesota Vikings, Aaron Jones. Jones, to me, will always be a massive tease, and I've said this for many years, even when he was on the Packers, when they were at their best with Rodgers and they were competing for NFC championships, right? He's a guy that he's had some durability issues. He's somewhat fragile. He's a very explosive back, like a really all or nothing back, but he is very inconsistent. He'll have several games every season where he looks like one of the best 2 or 3 running backs in the league, and then he'll just go a little period where he doesn't really do anything and you kind of forget about him. He's also prone to fumbling the ball, which has happened especially in the playoffs at some pretty pivotal moments in the playoffs, which isn't great. So he is a good player, and I know he wears that huge hat, the sombrero, and everybody kind of falls in love with it, whatever, but he is a bit more of a big name at this this point than he is a gamer. Minnesota Vikings, J.J. McCarthy. Is he good or bad? That's the big question with J.J. McCarthy. And I feel like you can ask that really about a lot of NFL quarterbacks. And that's the question. That's the big question. That's why a lot of teams are either A, looking for a franchise quarterback, or B, have a franchise quarterback and are looking towards the future. So they're looking for another quarterback to potentially replace their franchise quarterback, similar to what the Packers did with Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love. Anyway, back to McCarthy. He really, honestly, there's no excuse for him really to not be good, because he's stepping into really the best position any quarterback or young quarterback has in recent memory. This is a Vikings team with the skill position players, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. They got some TJ Hawkinson. They got some studs, right? They had fucking Sam Darnold in MVP conversations last year. So to me, if JJ McCarthy, if he sucks in this situation, then yeah, there shouldn't be a lot of room for error, margin for error for this guy. If he sucks, you should get rid of him, pull the plug, and draft another quarterback pretty quick. Anyway, he was a game manager in college. He has a good arm. I don't really have much more to say to him at this point, other than he's also, Michigan, they had problems with cheating when he was at Michigan. And so, it's not the first time in the NFL that we've had a Michigan quarterback who was mired in cheating scandals, right? Just putting that out there. But anyway, his prove it rating is a 10 out of 10.